this is Britt Caswell with another example video. In today's video, I'm covering example 2 from section 7-6 in the SavvasRealize Algebra 1 textbook. The goal of today's video is to understand factoring by grouping. So the start of this wants us to understand if you have the standard form of a quadratic, and if you know that it happens to be a product of binomials, that means that you know that you could factor it. They want to know how A, B, and C are related. So what we need to know here, Savvas has a whole bunch of text on there, and I just kind of, I moved past that text. I thought it was a bit much. Just understand that if I multiply together A times C, there's a set of factors of A times C that add up to B. All right, so there's some kind of set of factors that will add to make B. That's what we're looking for. So here are kind of our steps for how to factor by grouping. All right, so step 1 is to multiply A times C and find the factors of it. Step 2 is to look at the signs and determine which factors may be positive or negative. Step 3, find the set of factors that adds to B. Step 4 is to split the B term, making sure there is a plus between those terms, between the new terms. And this will make sense here in just a second. Step number 5 is to create two sets of parentheses with a plus between them. That is very important. If it's a minus between them, you're going to mess up. And then step 6, factor out the GCF from each set of parentheses. And step 7, create two new parentheses that are being multiplied. Put the GCFs in the one and the copied parentheses in the other. Like I said, this will all make sense as soon as we do an example of it. But here are the written steps if you're one of those folks that needs steps written out. And you know what? There's many people that do. So I would write these down just to make sure that you know what you're doing. Okay? And so now, let's factor by grouping. Let's do it. Okay? So what we're ending up doing with factoring by grouping is we are taking this B term and we are splitting it up. It's going to be some value of x plus some value of x. I don't know what it is yet, but we're going to try it. Okay? So what I'm going to do is set up my t-table. And so I'm taking A and timesing it by C. So 10 times 3 is 30. So I'm finding the factors of 30 that add to make 17. Okay? Now the way that I teach this is a little different than the way Savvas teaches this. I figure out if I'm adding based off that second sign. All right? So there we are. So there are my factors of 30, or there's my t-table. And so now I'm actually finding the factors of 30. I know I have 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and 5 and 6. And now I'm just adding them up. So I have 31, 17, 13, and 11. So I'm going to want to use that 17. And so 2 and 15 are my terms that I fill in here. Let me change that 2 and 15 to blue just so you see a little easier. Sorry, I get a little indecisive. right? Because 17x is the same thing as 2x plus 15x, right? What I've done is I've uncollected those like terms. So now our next step, we're going to go ahead and break this up into two sets of parentheses. Oops. And it's very important that this set of parentheses has a plus in between it. If it has a minus in between it, what you need to do is call it plus negative whatever, okay? Because if you don't have a plus here, when you factor out your GCF, you're going to flip your signs wrong, okay? So now I'm going to look at these two sets of parentheses, and I'm going to pull the GCF out of each of them. So between 10x squared and 2x, the GCF is 2x. And so 10x squared divided by 2x is 5x, and 2x divided by 2x is 1. And then I'm going to do that to the second set of parentheses. So 15x and 3, the common factor would be a 3. And when I divide that out, 15x divided by 3 is 5x, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now notice these bad boys match. So if you get to this step and you don't have a matching set of parentheses, you done messed up, Ron. So our last step here, we're going to take the GCFs, so all the stuff that we factored out, and we put it in one parenthesis. Oops. And then the parentheses that are copied, those are my other set. So there's that factored form. All right, so let's go ahead and let's try it again. So here I have factors. So now, first thing, I'm going to take A and times it to C. So 2 times 21 is 42. My B term here, they don't put a number in front of x, so it's an imaginary 1. And when I look at this thing here, I see that they need to subtract to make that 1. All right? And that's a little different than what Savvas does. Savvas teaches you to always add, and then you have to deal with negatives in here. And the reason why I don't is a lot of students really struggle with adding and subtracting negatives. Like they cannot add a negative and a positive, like they just struggle. So to eliminate that, just think about if you have to add or subtract here, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm finding the factors of 42 that subtract to make 1, and what that's going to do is that's going to cause me to be able to split this x into two terms. And remember, I need a plus between those two terms, so just be ready for that, okay? So the factors of 42. Whoo, boy, I have a lot of them. I have 1 in 42, 2 in 21, 3 in 14, not 4, not 5, 6 and 7. All right, a little less bad than I thought. So now when I go to subtract, I have 41, 19, 11, and 1. So this last set of factors is the set that I want to use. So when I go to rewrite this 1x, I'm going to rewrite it as 7x plus negative 6x, because 7 minus 6 is 1, and I have to have those opposite signs in order to make that 21. Okay? I know it's a little strange. Now the key thing that you're looking for here to make sure you're not making any mistakes is that your signs follow the same pattern. So this here has a plus plus. This one needs to have matching signs between these two. If this first set had opposite signs, these ones would need to be opposite signs. Okay, so it's just however you prefer to do that. So now I'm going to go ahead and set up my double bubbles. So my two sets of parentheses, sorry, not double bubbles. Double bubbles is when we're multiplying. But look, two sets of parentheses with a plus between them. And then I'm going to factor out the greatest common factor for each set. So here, between 2x squared and 7x, my GCF is an x. And when I pull that out, I'm left with 2x plus 7. Now, on this one, I need to do the same thing to factor out my GCF, but understand I know that I need a 2x plus 7 in this set of parentheses. So do you see how my signs changed? What that means is that whatever GCF I'm factoring out has to be negative. And so what did I factor out that made 6x go to 2x, or 21 go to 7? That would be a 3, right? And then I set up my two sets of parentheses times each other now. That's my double bubble. And so the GCFs that were out in front go in one of them, and the copied parentheses goes in the other. So there we have it, guys. That is factoring by grouping. Until next time.